vast Montana prairie stretched endlessly under the pale morning sky, its golden grass swaying in the gentle breeze like waves on a quiet sea. Daniel McKay had been riding fence lines for 3 days, checking for breaks in the wire that kept his cattle from wandering into the wilderness. At 45, he had spent most of his adult life learning to read the language of the land, understanding its moods and seasons. It was the sound that stopped him first. A thin, desperate cry that did not belong to any prairie creature he knew. Daniel pulled his horse to a halt and listened carefully, his weathered hands resting on the saddle horn. There it was again, weak but persistent, the unmistakable sound of a baby crying. He dismounted quickly, leaving his horse ground-tied as he followed the sound through the tall grass. What he discovered made his heart clench with concern and compassion. A young woman lay exhausted in a small depression in the prairie, her blue dress torn and stained. Beside her, a tiny infant wailed with the desperate hunger of one who had not eaten in far too long. The woman's eyes fluttered open as Daniel approached, and he could see the fear and exhaustion written across her pale face. She tried to sit up to protect her child, but her strength was clearly spent. "Easy now," Daniel said softly, removing his hat as he knelt beside them. "My name is Daniel McKay. I am here to help." The woman stared at him with eyes that had seen too much hardship. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "My baby. She has not eaten since yesterday." Daniel could see the situation clearly. This young mother, probably no more than 25, had been traveling alone with her infant and had somehow become stranded on the prairie. Her clothes suggested she had been walking for days, and both mother and child were dangerously weak. Without hesitation, Daniel shrugged out of his heavy leather coat. The morning air was cool, but his concern for the mother and child far outweighed his own comfort. He wrapped the coat gently around the baby, then carefully lifted the small bundle into his arms. The infant's cries softened slightly at the warmth, but Daniel knew they needed more than temporary comfort. He looked at the exhausted mother with gentle authority. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked. "Sarah," she managed. "Sarah Coleman. This is my daughter, Emma." "Sarah, I am going to help you both, but we need to get you somewhere safe and warm. Can you ride?" Sarah tried to push herself up but collapsed back against the grass. "I do not think I can," she admitted, tears of frustration and fear streaming down her face. Daniel made his decision quickly. He had dealt with medical emergencies on the ranch before, and he recognized the signs of severe exhaustion and dehydration. These two needed immediate care, and the nearest town was still hours away. "My ranch is only 2 miles from here," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "I am going to get you both there, and then we will figure out everything else." He helped Sarah to her feet, supporting most of her weight as they made their way back to his horse. With practiced efficiency born of years of ranch work, he helped her mount, then handed her the baby before swinging up behind them. The ride to his homestead was slow and careful. Daniel could feel Sarah swaying in the saddle, her exhaustion making it difficult for her to stay upright. He kept one arm around her waist to steady her while she clutched little Emma protectively to her chest. When they reached his modest ranch house, Daniel called out to his housekeeper, Mrs. Patterson, an older woman who had been helping him maintain his home since his wife's death 3 years earlier. "Mrs. Patterson, I need your help." The gray-haired woman emerged from the house, took one look at the situation, and immediately understood. "Bring them inside," she said without question. "I will prepare the guest room." Daniel carried Sarah into the house while Mrs. Patterson took charge of baby Emma. Within minutes, the older woman had prepared a warm bottle of milk and was gently feeding the hungry infant while Daniel helped Sarah to a comfortable bed. "When did you last eat?" Daniel asked Sarah as Mrs. Patterson brought her a bowl of warm broth. 2 days ago, maybe 3, Sarah replied weakly. I lost track of time. Over the next few hours, as Sarah regained some strength and baby Emma slept peacefully in a makeshift crib Mrs. Patterson had prepared, the full story emerged. Sarah had been traveling west to join her husband, who had promised to send for her once he established himself in California. But his letters had stopped coming months ago, and she had used the last of her money to make the journey on her own. The wagon train she had joined was poorly organized and had left her behind when Emma became ill with a fever. Sarah had been walking for 4 days, following what she hoped was the right trail when her strength finally gave out. "I thought we were going to die out there," she admitted to Daniel as the sun began to set. "I had given up hope." Daniel sat in the chair beside her bed, his hat in his hands. "You did not give up," he said firmly. "You kept going for your daughter. That takes more courage than most people possess." As the days passed, Sarah and Emma recovered under the gentle care of Daniel and Mrs. Patterson. The baby's color improved, and her cries became the healthy sounds of a thriving infant rather than the desperate wails of starvation. Sarah's strength returned, and with it, a natural grace and intelligence that Daniel found increasingly compelling. "I need to continue west," Sarah said one evening as they sat on the porch watching the sunset. "I need to find my husband, or at least learn what happened to him." Daniel had been dreading this conversation, though he knew it was inevitable. Over the past week, he had come to care deeply for both Sarah and little Emma. The house felt alive again with their presence, and he realized how much he had missed having a family. "I have been thinking," he said carefully. "Winter is coming, and traveling with a baby in the cold months would be dangerous. Why do not you stay here until spring? You and Emma are welcome for as long as you need." Sarah looked at him with gratitude and something deeper that made his heart quicken. "You have already done so much for us. I cannot continue to impose on your kindness." "It is not imposition," Daniel replied quietly. "It is what neighbors do for each other, what decent people do when someone needs help." He paused, then added with gentle honesty, "And if I am being truthful, having you both here has reminded me what it feels like to have purpose beyond just taking care of cattle and land." Sarah was quiet for a long moment, watching Emma sleep peacefully in her arms. "What if my husband is still alive? What if he is looking for me?" "Then we will help you find him when the time comes," Daniel said simply. "But for now, you and Emma are safe, and that is what matters most." As winter settled over the Montana prairie, Sarah and Daniel discovered that sometimes the most unexpected circumstances can lead to the most profound connections. Their relationship grew slowly, built on mutual respect, shared responsibilities, and the daily kindness of two people learning to trust again. By spring, when the time came to make decisions about the future, Sarah realized she had already found what she had been seeking all along. Not just safety and security, but a home with someone who had seen her at her most vulnerable and had responded with nothing but compassion and strength. Little Emma took her first steps in Daniel's ranch house, and her first word was, "Daddy," as she reached for the man who had rescued them both from the wilderness and given them a new beginning, filled with love.